with Nurturing Connections Homeschool, where I share tips, encouragement, and resources to help you connect with what matters most. Now, I have been homeschooling now for 10.5 years, so we have a number of years under our belt. I homeschool an 8th grader, 5th grader, and a 2nd grader. So we've done the range, we've accumulated so many resources, tried different curriculums along the way, and my hope now is just to share it with you so that you can hopefully find a good fit for you and your family. Now, one of the questions I had in one of my last videos was what art curriculum do we use, or whether or not we used an art curriculum. And so at this time, we are not using one specifically, but I wanted to share the resources we've used over the years along with what we're doing now to see if that could be something that's helpful for you. Now, before we get started, I want to encourage you, if you have my bucket planning system, this is the time to go ahead and pull out your bucket planner and turn to the creative arts. So this is what we're targeting today and what we're going to be talking about. Basically, under the creative arts, these are things like I study artists and their works. I learn about composers and music, which we're not talking about today, but that's in there as well. I build, invent, and create. I enjoy handicrafts and do-it-yourself projects such as sewing, weaving, woodworking, etc. I play games, puzzles, word searches. I'm learning about photography, using digital tools to design, learning about robotics and STEM, but most importantly, I use my God-given gifts to bless others. So those are some key objectives that we have been working toward in the creative arts, and then we've used a number of resources to help us accomplish those specific goals. Now, if you have the bucket planning system, you may have chosen to go with those as your objectives. You may have added new ones underneath, or you may have come up with your own. There are blank versions in there where you could create your own indicators. But having these as our objectives means that we have the flexibility to use a number of different resources that help us accomplish our goals rather than being locked into one. So art has looked different along the way, but we have found so much more freedom now in the later years in accomplishing these things, knowing that it doesn't always have to be a curriculum to be effective. So I'm going to start off with where we started early on in the younger years. We actually started with a curriculum called A Year of Playing Skillfully. So this particular curriculum is for preschoolers, but it's actually 3 through 7 years of age. So it is something you can use as they continue to grow for a few years. It had a number of different activities by month. So it started in September all the way through May, and it was just a variety of hands-on activities. You can see some ideas there. And these activities were used to encourage play, but also to encourage learning along the way. So the learning was in the different areas of like math and literacy. There was art study and gross and motor skills. There was field trips that were suggested and book lists and life skills and all sorts of stuff in here. So it was a great curriculum, and that was pretty much how we integrated art in our day-to-day homeschool. So we started with something like this. It was a lot of fun, very hands-on. The kids loved it. At this level, art is more about the process, not necessarily the product. So yes, I kept a few things along the way, but for the most part, it was just giving them the experience with the art, developing those fine motor skills, and teaching them some different skills along the way as well. Now, in 1st grade, we were using My Father's World. And so in My Father's World, they did more of an art study in a form of picture study cards. So we had these cards here, and the children would look at the piece of art, but on the back, I had the artist's name, the name of the art piece, along with some discussion questions to prompt their thinking. So this was to help them notice art, observe it, enjoy it, and start using their imagination with it, but it was laying that foundation for them to be able to create their own art later. So it's a set of, I think about 20 cards, yeah, 20 different cards from a variety of different artists. You can check those out in here. They also had the stickers of them as well. but we really liked this set when they were young. It just started exposing them to artists in a light and easy way. It just took 5 to 10 minutes, and it was something that just inspired them along the way. So we did that for a year for each of the kids, and then we jumped into Draw Right Now. So Draw Right Now is a series of books. There are at least 8 of them. We collected these from a used book sale. So I have almost every single one, which I absolutely love. And you'll notice that each one is specific to a different theme. So this one in particular is the United States, from sea to sea, moving forward. Then you have the polar regions and the Arctic and the Antarctic, and Christopher Columbus and autumn harvest and the weather. So different ones. This one's about the farm, kids and critters, and storybook characters. They're each numbered. And at the beginning of each book, you have the different pictures of the drawings that they will be creating. But what I like about this is it does take them step by step through the process of drawing it. So step 1, step 2, step 3, and so forth. And then it gives them copy work as well, along with some inspiration for creating a background. So the kids really did well with this. At first, when they were little bitty, they just wrote one word. So they might just write pigs, for example. But as they grew, then I would expect them to do all of the copy work on their own papers. So I just went ahead and created a blank version that looked like this, where it gave them room to draw along with space to write their copy work underneath. And then I had it bound. We just created some little covers. We had it bound, and we just did this about once a week, sometimes twice a week, and we just did it over a number of years. We just did a little bit here and there until they just about finished up their booklets here. Now, this particular blank handout is available for free on my website. So if you want to go check it out, I have a number of free printables out there. All you have to do is click on Member Freebies, sign up if you don't already have an account. It's absolutely free. It will ask you for your email address, but I am not going to spam you. I rarely send newsletters out. This is more of a way for me to just get you the resources in an easy way. So sign up, go out there, check out the library. You're free to download whatever you'd like, but this is one copy. There's one with larger lines or thicker lines and one with smaller, so you can pick and choose what works best for you. Now, just as an example, sometimes they just drew. And then, of course, like I said, they would also do their copy work from time to time. So here's some examples. Then they started drawing multiple ones along the way as they got better. But you can also see where they started here. We have the panda. And this is one on Columbus as well. So this has been great. We loved it. These are our keepsake for each of them, and just such a neat way for them to practice drawing, learning those drawing skills, but also developing those fine motor skills so that later on, as we did notebooking projects and things with our other content areas, it just fit right in. They were already developing that skill that they needed to do that effectively. Another series that is very similar, but it's more history related, is Draw and Write Through History. So this is also a series. I only have this one book, but in this particular one, it has how to draw things from creation. So this one is more of a Christian perspective. It does have a biblical worldview. So you have creation on there. You have Noah's Ark, Egypt, and I can't see the rest, Joseph, Trojan horse, and so forth. So it takes you up to a certain point in this book, but then you can get the next book if you want to continue on. Now, very similarly, it teaches them how to draw each of those pieces, and then it does have copy work as well. So you can see here, it has it in cursive so they can practice cursive if you wanted them to also do that copy work. So another great resource that we've used along the way and really, really enjoyed. Then in My Father's World, we were also introduced to I Can Do All Things by Barry Stebbing. He has a website, And he provides a number of homeschool art curriculums on there that are also faith-based. So there is How Great Thou Art. I actually have that on my computer. I have a digital copy of that. This one, I Can Do All Things, is bound like this. So it's meant to be more of a portfolio within it. So it takes them step by step through the process of learning how to draw, beginning drawing, colored pencils, colored markers, beginning painting, studying the masters, and so forth. And it just begins with the very, very basics. So basically you read here, and then it has the practices built into the workbook itself. So you can kind of see some examples there. They start drawing with perspective, and there's stick people there. And on it goes. They get into texture and so forth. I mean, it just goes on. They've done faces. There's some funny faces there. Making a snowman. And then as they get to markers and so forth, they actually had some marker cards in there. So these cards, you could actually make copies of them if you chose to. This is actually a copy of it. But they would then paint them. This is what they look like in there. And they could paint them and so forth. So we had the separate cardstock already, and that's where they would do all of their painting. And we kept all that. I'm gonna share with you in just a bit how we organized everything, how we keep some of these pieces and so forth. So I will get to that as well in just a bit. But this is a great one. Again, it's I Can Do All Things. And that worked out really well with us for a couple of years. Then when the kids got to My Father's World, Exploring Countries and Cultures, I have done an entire video on that if you want to check it out. But in that particular one, they did global art. So I no longer have that particular resource, but I believe that My Father's World has actually changed that out and created their own. But what that resource allowed them to do was create artwork from different cultures around the world. So as we were studying about Canada, then we did a piece on Canada and all the way around. So these are just some examples that I kept along the way. This is like the Canadian flag one. And I believe this was a hat that they made from Ecuador and so forth. So I just collected them in here. This was an easy way for me to store it, but we do have another system in place as well. I just love these particular folders for putting in their work at the end of every year. It's easy to store all the work that they did for that year. So I just compiled this particular art piece in here, or art year. When they learned about Japan, they studied origami. And so this was also really fun. They made all sorts of things. So that was a lot of fun. Along the way, they've also, we've done Art Hub. So Art Hub is a subscription service online, and that was great. They loved creating different drawings through that, again, step by step, but there's a teacher on there drawing and they are following along. So that was a lot of fun. We've also done different artist studies. So one of the picture book collections that we used was Katie Ann. So this is Katie and the Impressionists. And it's about a little girl that goes with her, I believe, grandmother to the museum. And she goes into these paintings. So as she goes into these paintings, the kids are introduced to the different paintings from that time period. Now, after we studied these, then they would go and try to create their own examples. So this is Monet's bridge, for example. They put some tape on there, painted it up, and then we removed the tape to see what they came up with. So it's fun trying to imitate the master artists along the way. We did Katie and the Sunflowers on Van Gogh also, and this is a series. So there's a number of different books that you could look into if you're interested in introducing art through storybook form like this. Now, one of the things we started when we did My Father's World Creation to the Greeks was God and the History of Art. So this is also by Barry Stebbing. So it's very, very similar, except through the different projects and through the different explanations, it is talking about the history of art through a Christian perspective. So I really, really like that. I like that it talks about the purpose of art and how art glorifies God, and it was meant to depict this world that He's already created. So I want to get more into purpose in just a bit, but this really just gave that godly perspective on art history. Now, we dove into the different pages that we were doing with My Father's World, so they did do certain drawings, but it skipped around, so we haven't done everything. But again, you'll see it's very similar. It has the lesson or explanation and the place for them to practice on here. Now, you can make copies of this, so we did do some of that. We just made some copies where they did on the copies themselves. But this particular curriculum also comes with a part 2. So this one goes up there about the Renaissance, and this one continues on through history. So we'll be able to use this again as we continue with our studies. But it also comes with the paint and marker cards like this. So these are on cardstock, and it's kind of what they look like there. But this is to keep it from going through the paper. And then it also has these postcards with the different pieces of art for them to look at. So it's a neat program. I really, really like it. Again, they're the Impressionists. I took these out when we were reading Katie and the Impressionists, so this was a good resource to have on hand. But these have come in handy, and eventually we'll get through it all, but we're just kind of dipping in as needed for now based on our specific needs and what we're studying in history. So those are the curriculums that we've used along the way. After that, the kids have just really enjoyed creating. They love, love, love crafting and creating, and they all have their different gifts and abilities. So what I've done over the years is just start collecting a variety of books with different ideas that they can use. So we have a bookcase back there, and they go on there whenever they're bored, and they can pick and choose the different projects. So as an example, we have Fuzzy Fun. A lot of these I actually picked up at like used book sales, where they can just create all sorts of fun things with pipe cleaners. So that's been fun. I had this other one from Usborne Books. I can draw animals. So again, more drawing books. They love drawing. The beaded bobby pins, again, a used piece, but look at this, guys. It's been so fun. They make these little creations. They decorate the bobby pins themselves. So they've made little clips that they get to wear. I mean, just super cute ideas. Then they've done things like Easy Fun Crafts, where they just make all sorts of stuff like that. And sewing projects. So my mom actually does a lot of sewing with them, and so they have gotten the skills from her and have done a lot of these just different projects. There was one with mini fruits and vegetables that my daughter picked up. It's a sour lemon, a little Pop-Tart. They have made little donuts out of old socks and stuffed animals, because I said no more stuffed animals in this house. We will not buy another one. And so they decided to start making their own stuffed animals. That's an axolotl there. So anyway, just a number of ideas. This has been so much fun for them. I had bought Journal Me Organized and created my own bullet journals, and my daughter's already picked this up and has loved learning how to do some calligraphy and different doodles and fonts. I bought them simple decorating with some decorating ideas so that they can decorate their rooms. They've done jewelry making and made bookmarks. They've made little magnets. Here's some other ones. Some magnets that they've sold actually. So through one of their co-ops, they had a little craft fair, so they got to sell some of their goods. But at this time, we are doing co-ops for electives. And so they take an art class there with their co-ops. We just introduced a half-day co-op that's 10 weeks long. And oh my goodness, it's been so much fun. One of them is learning homesteading and doing dioramas and things like that, hands-on projects. One is doing cake decorating and Pinterest DIYs, and the other one is doing woodworking. So a number of different opportunities through co-ops, through YouTube. I mean, the sky is the limit. They've just had so much fun making these things and enjoying that process of building and just creating along the way. Now, when they're crafting like this, it can tend to get overwhelming because the question is, what do you do with all that stuff? So when it's three-dimensional like this, some of them get to hang around a little bit longer. Some of them we try to gift and we give as blessings. We keep saying we want to use our art to bless others, not to hoard it unto ourselves. So we do gift out some items along the way. My daughter has tried, like I said, selling a few items and different craft opportunities. But once we're done with it and we can admit, okay, it served its purpose, we are done, we don't have to keep this forever, we will take pictures of it. And we have an app called Memento that my daughter likes to go on there with. She'll put the date, she'll put what it is, and she's creating this digital scrapbook of all of her different crafts that she's made along the way that we couldn't hold on to. So we've done that. We do display them throughout the house for a good while. We'll hang them up, we frame them. We have this curtain rod thing from IKEA that we put up in our hallway, and we change that out every season so that their art pieces are displayed up there for everyone to see. Now we have binders that I shared previously. So we just use sheet protectors and we put them in here along the way. This is more for their favorites. So they do let go of things about every other month or so. I put in everything that they've created and they can toss things they're ready to let go of. And then the things that they want to hold on to, we go ahead and we put them in these binders. So this one, they've already kind of created their own decorative pieces, but again, protective sheets help a lot with that. So some of the things that I've shared with them along the way is just understanding who God is and how He is our creator. He is the creator of the universe. He created all things. And most importantly, He created us in His image. And so when we understand that we have this innate desire to create and to build, and we have to see that from the perspective of how do we do that for His glory. We've walked into the libraries lately, into our public libraries, and we see these displays of art from time to time. They change up these displays. And one of the things that we've noticed so much is modern art has just seemed to be so dark, so distorted, so, for lack of better words, just perverted in a sense. It's gloomy, it's these sensual positions, it's these people with these dark thoughts, and I can't even explain it except that it makes us feel icky when we walk through and we just stare at this art. And it's not to insult anybody, but as Christians, we are called to be the light of the world. And so I want my kids to understand that their art, the things that they create with their hands, should be shining that light into the world. It should be pointing back to their creator, our creator. It should be making this world a better place and bringing forth those feelings of joy and peace and goodness and kindness and gentleness. And a lot can be portrayed through art. So using art for His glory is of utmost importance in our family, and whatever curriculum we're using or whatever we're doing, I constantly want to have that reminder for them. Let's create our art to be a blessing, and let's glorify God as we do it. So that's it for today. I hope that was helpful. If you saw anything here that you thought was helpful, I hope you were able to record it here under resources. Or if you had specific ideas, I do have those blank sheets on there too that you could have made a list on. But other than that, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, I'd love to see them. So please, please, please write them below. And if you have any that you'd like to share, please do so as well. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you again next time.